Kia ora. Module 1. Why stories matter. A chinstrap penguin being chased by a leopard seal literally jumped into my Zodiac. I was drifting just off the ship. The Zodiac was idling. I was waiting to load guests. Nothing unusual. Open water. Really quite a calm moment. Then came the blur. This penguin, desperate, darting through the sea. It actually tried 3 times to leap aboard. Failed spectacularly each time. And then on the 4th attempt, it made it. Landed beside me with a slick, breathless thud. Right beside me, at the tiller. Looked me in the eye. Completely unperturbed now. And walked around the pontoon to take up position on the bow box. And there it stayed for 15 minutes. So I thought, okay, I'll take you for a cruise. It's a good story, but it's more than that, because it speaks to something deeper. How we, in this case me, just by being there, changed the story. Not with interference, not by doing anything wrong, but simply by being present. And that's what stuck with me. I thought, what did that penguin see in me just then? Was it purely survival? Probably. Trust? Had to have some, maybe. Both? Do you think I changed the story just by being there? I'm pretty certain I did. And then can we ever just watch nature without becoming part of it? What does this say about our connection to the wild? So this became a moment I could build meaning around, because that penguin story wasn't just about an animal. It was about empathy, about presence, about proximity between species. It became a way to talk about interspecies empathy without ever having to use those words. Because good stories open up space for deeper reflection. And as guides, that's what we're often trying to do. Not just inform, but invite. Not just narrate, but connect. We all carry knowledge. We study animal behavior, geology, history, culture. But when we turn that knowledge into a story with tension, insight, and feeling, we make it memorable. We make it matter. So let's back that up with a bit of science. So Paul Zak, he's a neuroeconomist, ran experiments on what makes people engage with stories. He showed short emotional films, like a boy and a father in a hospital, and found they increased oxytocin. So that's a neurochemical tied to empathy, trust, and connection. But more than that, those viewers were more likely to donate to a stranger right after. So the story didn't just move them, it moved them to act. Zak went on to define what he called immersion theory, a measurable blend of attention and emotional resonance. It turns out the stories that hook us are the ones that open with tension and resolve with emotion. That's the arc, the pulse, the shape of the story. And Hollywood noticed, and they came banging on his door, and studios began testing films with Zak's biometric tools, tracking heartbeat, attention, chemistry. That's why blockbuster films today open hot. The Bond films, Bourne Identity films, Mission Impossible, everything begins in motion because immersion matters. And nature gives us that too, if we know how to shape our stories. But it's not just about brain chemistry. It's also about how the brain makes sense of the world. And that's where Ian McGilchrist comes in. He spent years studying the brain's hemispheres, not in that left brain creative, right brain logical cliche, but in their deeper patterns. So the left hemisphere analyzes, categorizes, labels. It focuses on the detail. The right hemisphere understands context, metaphor, emotion. It sees the whole. We need both, but they see differently. And McGilchrist warns, when the left dominates, we reduce meaning to mechanics. But when both hemispheres are engaged, when the story links feeling to fact, we get real understanding. So when you tell a story that's emotionally resonant, and thoughtfully structured, you're not watering things down. You're engaging the whole brain. So let's bring it back to what we do. Let's bring it back to guiding. Freeman Tilden, the grandfather of interpretation, said, "The chief aim of interpretation is not instruction, but provocation." Sam built on that. Interpretation, he said, should be thematic, should be organised, should be relevant, and it should be enjoyable. Tor. Okay, that structure lives quietly behind everything in this course. Good interpretation helps your guests care. Good story gives them a reason to. Lisa Cron, an author on story, puts it perfectly. She says, opposable thumbs let us hang on. Story told us what to hang on to. We are wired for narrative. And when we guide through story, we're not doing something artificial. We're speaking the native language of the human brain. And that language, it's metaphor. As cognitive scientists point out, we simply don't talk in metaphors, we think in metaphors. They're not decoration, they're how we process meaning. If I say someone is carrying a heavy burden, or he's on the fence, or she exploded, or we're on a collision course, you instantly understand. Metaphors take the invisible and make it feel real. They link the known to the unknown. And for guides, they're one of the simplest, most powerful tools we have. So, a quick story with a quote. So Steve Sable, he's a creative lead behind NFL Films, once reflected on what he learned from his father Ed, the founder of the company, when he started work on the first day. He asked his dad, he said, "Dad, what do I need to know?" And Ed replied to him with an old Indian quote, "Tell me a fact and I'll learn. Tell me a truth and I'll believe. But tell me a story and it will live in my heart forever." And if you've seen those fabulous early NFL highlight packages, the slow motion at impact, the close-ups of the individual player at the moment of experiencing defeat or victory, you can't help but feel what Ed was talking about in that quote. And that's the opportunity we have as guides, to take what we know and what we care about and tell it in a way that others can feel. Not because we're trying to perform, but because we are trying to connect. So a little reflective exercise for you to finish with. Think back to a time you were on a tour or at a talk and someone told a story that stuck. I mean, what made it powerful? What helped it land? Did it shift how you saw something or how you felt? Now pause here, jot down a few notes. You'll come back to these in the next few modules. They'll be your compass for building stories of your own. In the next module, we'll explore how to find that North Star of your story, your theme. Kia ora.